Okay, hello everyone. I hope that you are receiving this loud and clear. Today we are talking to Nellie. This is going to be the third interview in my series of mock interviews. As you can see, she's already waiting to get into the room. But to give you a little bit of an idea of how this is going to run, for the next 10 minutes or so, we're going to do a fake interview. From the very beginning, it's going to be as if I'm the recruiter and she is the applicant. And then from there, we're actually going to review kind of how she sees herself, how she feels about her own performance, I should say, and then how I interpreted things, if there were any specific points I feel she could work on or get better at, and then we'll go from there. So, that said, let's let her into the room and see what she thinks. Let's do this. Hello, Nellie.
Hello.
Hi, lovely to meet you. It's so good of you to talk to me today. How are you?
I'm good.
All right, well, let's jump straight into it. Why don't you tell me how we ended up here today? Why are we here today?
We are here because you posted on Twitter mentioning that you would like some people to volunteer for mock interviews.
Yes.
Yes. And for me, I have yet to get an interview other than one, which was a long time ago.
Mhm.
So this is like my best opportunity to say, here I am. If you want to give me an interview, you can look here,
Yeah,
with a preview, right?
that's true. All right, so then let's get started. Why don't you tell me a bit about yourself and why you're perfect for this job?
Okay. I am a mother.
Mhm.
I am a creator. I've been painting and doing art since I was old enough to hold a crayon.
Mhm.
Um, I've been in blue collar for 15 years. I've been a mom for 13 years. And there's so much I have to offer to the world that I haven't been able to give,
Mhm.
you know. I think that if you're looking for a person to fill a role and you want that person to be a hard worker and dedicated and do everything in their power to make the stuff you want me to make, that's me. That's me.
Yeah, so you feel like your experience as a mother has helped you to actually and as an artist has actually helped you as a developer?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, there is so much problem solving in being a parent.
Hmm.
And it doesn't matter how many books you read, how many resources you're given they've written volumes. And the reason why people keep writing these parenting books, right, is because you can't. You There's just too much. And nothing will ever prepare you for that. And you have to figure stuff out as you go, no matter how much support you have, no matter how many people are in your life telling you what the right thing to do.
Hmm.
There will always be something that pops up that no one knows how to do. There's no, or you might not have a person to reach out to, right? So it's problem solving on such an epic scale. Your kid sticks a marble in their nose. You've got to figure that out. They stick keys in the DVD RAM slot, and what do I do? There's it's. I think parenting and art too. You have to scale stuff. You have to design it. You have to lay it out.
Hmm.
You have to decide colors. You have to make all these decisions and all these things to incorporate and communicate a message that is visual to other people. That other people will
Yeah.
enjoy, that other people can see and like embrace. And I think all of that is hugely a part of being a developer and creating things in the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I suppose my natural next question then, since you mentioned, colors and art, is are you looking at going more in a design direction or do you have more experience in the design direction or are you more interested in the kind of raw programming side of things?
The raw programming definitely is what interests me the most because my art pretty much satisfies and fills that need. And I've tried design, and it is incredibly hard compared to just making a painting. I had no clue how much harder design would be
Mm.
because I had all this art, and I'm like, well, it
Hmm.
can't be that bad, right? I can paint this. I can make a website look pretty. It's not. It's not. It's so different. So I definitely want to be on the programming side because I love solving problems, and
Mhm.
there's so much joy in writing something and clicking that button, and it worked. It did the thing I told it to do, like magic, right? It's magic.
Yeah, absolutely. And so then I suppose, can you tell me a little bit about your experience with programming? How did you come into programming after so long?
Well, I was doing blue collar, and it was a job that was dangerous and it was unhealthy
Mm-hmm.
and it was so hard. It was so hard. I would come home exhausted and just fall asleep. I'd get my boy in bed with me. I'd hand him the PlayStation pedal so he could just push buttons because it didn't matter. Yeah. I was so exhausted. And I talked to my sister. She's been in tech for a long time. And she's like, "You can do this." I'm like, "I can't do what you do. That's too hard. I'm not smart enough. And finally she's like, "No, do it." And she sent me this link to a free online uh, learn Python the hard way. At the time was free. You could find it
Mm-hmm.
online. And so I started trying and I started playing with it, and it was just so much fun and so cool. And it's like, why did nobody tell me this wasn't all like trigonometry and stuff? Right? That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So that's how I started. And then I went back into blue collar and a lot of your viewers might understand doing a blue collar job and trying to fit this other stuff on top is
Mm-hmm.
incredibly difficult. So I
Right.
gave up for a while
Yeah.
because it was like, I can't do both. I can't, right? I
Mm.
got a family to take care of. I can't pursue this. So I gave up. And then a couple years ago, I had an opportunity to really dig in and try again. And I did. And I loved it. And I'm still trying. I'm still trying. I'll get in. I will.
So what do you like working with? What are your preferred technologies or your preferred languages?
I I prefer Python,
Mm-hmm.
but I am really starting to like JavaScript, which I know a lot of people, oh, JavaScript. But I'm starting to it's quirky and it's got a personality, right? It'll just tell you no.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of kind of think that's fun.
Hmm.
Um, but Python is my preferred one.
Mm-hmm.
I did a chat bot with NLTK and natural language processor.
Mm-hmm.
And that was so much fun to create this thing that people can interact with, and she can talk back to you and give you these snarky comments. It was just so much fun to make that. And I would love to get into data science and to make these things happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool. It's fun.
Very nice. And so, in terms of the kind of company you're looking for, I mean, are you looking for a large company, small company? Do you have any preferences in that area?
I have no preference. Put me in front of a computer and let me make stuff. You know, I've, I've worked in companies that were only 8 people. I'm
Mm-hmm.
blue collar, but I've worked in companies that were only 8 people.
Mm-hmm.
And we really were a family. We fought and we liked each other as much as a family does. And I've worked in companies where it was like 300 people and that we rotated shifts, 24-hour shifts. Well, they weren't 24-hour shifts, but the plant run 24 hours.
Mm-hmm. I see.
So we were on a crew and we all had to keep this thing running,
Yeah.
right? Everybody was responsible in the next step to keep this machine running 24/7. And that was really cool too. That was extremely the hardest job I've ever done. But it was also so cool to be a part of something that was that massive. So I'm happy either way.
Mm-hmm. Right. And you mentioned going into data science. Is that the kind of direction you're thinking of going in? Like, if we're looking at a 3 to 5 year time frame, would that kind of be the direction you'd like to go long term?
Long term, yes, but I know that I am not gonna dive into an entry level position. I know that's not gonna happen, right? That's a field that is very coveted and very hard to get into. So I know that I need to start somewhere lower and work my way up, and that's what I'll do. And I'm starting to fall in love with web development just as much as I love Python. So
Hmm.
either way, I mean, I don't see a downside to anything where they let me play with computers and make stuff.
Exactly. All right. So then let me ask you. I think you've made it quite clear what you think your strengths are, in terms of work ethic and problem solving. And obviously, you're very passionate as well about technology, which is great. Um, what do you think is a weakness that you have? What would you say is something you need to work on still?
Definitely, I have a very stubborn curiosity streak.
Hmm.
I was working on an Angular project, a front end for an open source, and I didn't understand where the data was going to come from, and I didn't understand how the data interacted, which is something someone else is working on, you know. And I'm like, I don't know if making this is the how I'm making this is right, because I'm working from a place where I can't actually interact with the project. I have to create this, and then we're going to integrate the original project into it. And I was just being so stubborn, like, I have to know how this works. I have to know how this works. So then finally I talked to someone. I'm like, well, can you just please explain it to me? And they were very kindly, you don't have to worry about that. Focus on what you're doing. Don't worry about how it works. Just do it. And I was like, yeah, okay, you're right. And that's one of my big like things is if I don't understand something fully, it really nags at me. And sometimes I need a little push to go, don't do that.
Yeah, okay. So you'd say generally you have trouble kind of staying goal oriented when something pops up that kind of piques your curiosity.
My curiosity can definitely get in the way, yes. But I know that it's just at the time I have to know, you know, and I've realized that's part of my problem. And I'm glad I went and talked to someone. So now I have like this thing, and I know I'm gonna have to, if when I do get into tech, if I ever get into tech, I'm gonna have to be like, listen, if I get sidetracked, can you please just give me a little nudge and hey, Nellie. And I'd be totally okay with it.
Okay. And then I suppose my next question is in terms of location, where are you based right now? Sorry?
Michigan,
Michigan.
United
Okay.
States, Michigan. Yeah.
That's it. So are you looking for a position where you can go into the office, or on the flip side, are you looking for something that's only remote? What are your location preferences?
Well, I want to set roots for my family. So, um, remote until I know that this is something that's going to be for at least 5 years, you know, because I want roots for my son. Um, so I would remote could do that, or relocating could do that, but I'd like to start anywhere remote and then go to the option of moving there.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that's quite realistic and as an expectation right now, anyway. So there's a lot of people aren't going into the office regardless.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I suppose that's all I need to know from my side. Did you have any questions for me as your friendly
Yeah.
recruiter?
Yeah. What are the chances I'd get to play with some machine learning in your industry? And is there a chance I'd get to talk to the people in your team that work on that, just to talk to them?
Yeah. Sure. As you know, I know a lot about this topic, so I can give you a lot of information about it. But I'm sure our engineers would be happy to talk to you.
Cool. Cool.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And I will pass your information on to our team lead and let you know.
Thank you for talking to me.
All right. So I am Anna now. Woo. Okay. All right. So firstly, lovely to meet you. Uh, since I was kind of in Recruiterville there. But how do you feel that went?
All the things I went through my head over the last week trying to prepare for this kind of went out the window. So I don't know, because it felt like I was just going for it, and I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I'd say it went really well. I'd say it went really well. I think one of the things that really came through. I should look at you. Sorry, I always forget. I always start. Because during the interview, I like to look at your face to see how you react, and then I forget to come back over here. Hi. So, I think one of the things that really came through was your passion and enthusiasm. It was so clear that you really love this, and I think that is a huge advantage to have. I've said before, I don't know that passion is necessary. If you're like really good, then you're good. You're right. It doesn't have to be that way. But if you have it, great. Like it's a real advantage to have it. So that was something that really came across to me. The other thing I really loved was that you're clearly quite comfortable talking to people, or if you're not, you're very good at hiding it, because you are like quite outwardly charming. Like you're a very charming person, and, and that was lovely. And so there were a few things that I really 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 liked. Most of it I really 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 liked. I have to say, like right now, I feel like I'm nitpicking like by giving you feedback, because honestly I think it was really good. I would say that with your kind of opening spiel, I think you need to draw the connection even more. I think I saw the direction you were going with it, but I felt like I kind of had to drag out, okay, so all of that means what, you know? So I think just kind of baby step them through it even more. Like, opening with being a mother is, in a way, it's a really good hook because it's not what they would expect to hear, right? It's kind of like, oh, okay, like that's not like what you typically hear in an interview. Some more traditional tech recruiters might look down on that kind of thing, but honestly, I think if they do, in a way, they're probably not going to be right for you anyway. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. I think it's a really good approach because you're kind of like, look, this is who I am. This is what I've done. And I liked the fact that you said, like, if you're looking for a hard worker and you're looking for someone who's really going to like sit down and get the job done and like go through the grime to get to that end product, that's me, you know, and that was a really strong like end. So I think you need to keep that ending. But just it kind of like the beginning is great and the ending was great, but in the middle I just want to see you make that connection a bit more, the connection to problem solving. Maybe just with one example from your son's life, so rather than like giving 2 or 3 examples from being a parent. I'm a parent too, so I get it. Like there's so much to choose from. uh, so I get it. But I would say just choose one, like one thing that have a think about it. Like, you've got time, right? So like have a think about like what is an example from parenting that you think can translate really well to the problem solving aspects of tech, and then use that. I'd say one really strong example is going to be better than 2 or 3 kind of thrown out there examples. And then it's a story, because then it sticks in their head as well. You know, they go, oh yeah, like that's a really good connection, and that's what they remember when they come away from the conversation. So you want to kind of get just that one really kind of nail it connection between the two. I mean, it could be the marble up the nose. I quite liked that one. So that's one thing I say, just make that connection clearer. I mean, you had it there. I just kind of had to pull it out of you a little bit. Again, I feel like I'm nitpicking here, so don't take that to be it was bad. It was really good.
Okay.
The other good thing that I really liked, I've got quite a few ticks on. I've got a little notepad. I've got quite a few ticks, so I have to go through the ticks. I really liked that. Speaking of which, I really liked that you looked into the camera and that you weren't kind of looking away. You were quite open. Your body language was open. There was a lot of smiling. It just felt. It felt like you would be good to work with, you know, and that's part of what they're doing, right? Especially these first interviews. They're usually not. The first interview is sometimes done by tech people, depending on the size of the company. But if it's a recruiter, they normally know a little bit about tech, but really they're there to suss out if you tick the main boxes and if you'd be a decent person to work with. So you definitely give that impression that you would be a good person to work with. So that's definitely good. I loved when I did make you draw that connection between, you know, parenting and blue collar work and programming. I loved that you brought up the chatbot. Somehow the chatbot found its way into the conversation, and I was like, I don't know how she just did that, but it was magical. So that was great. Like, you obviously had that in your mind, like, I want to mention this thing and I'm gonna get it in there, and I love that you did it. It was beautiful. There was one thing I noticed, which was that whenever you're talking about tech and your projects, you always came back to the word fun. As I said, that is good to show passion, but I would also try thinking of maybe a few other words to use as well. Like, it was fun and challenging, and I love a challenge, or something like that. Or it was fun and difficult, but that difficulty made it more rewarding at the end, or you know, something like that, that kind of also shows not just the emotional satisfaction you get from it, but kind of like an intellectual satisfaction as well, maybe, just to kind of, again, make it really obvious, you got to talk to them like they're 5,
It's hard. You're a parent, and that's all you talk to for a year. It gets hard.
Mine's only 2. I've got an advantage at the moment. I haven't had the same conversation 10 million times yet. She's just starting, just putting 2 words together at the moment. So I'm at a nice stage. And the weakness, that was good too. I think I feel like you remembered at the end that you had to, because I know that you watched Rishikesh's one from last week. So I think you remembered at the end that you had to offer a solution as well. And then you kind of like went, oh shit, that's right. So then I know how to solve this. Is that right?
You got me, yeah.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah. A performer notices a performance. Yeah, I saw that. But that's fine. I mean, that happens in an interview. You have talking points that you forget, and then you realize kind of halfway through, oh, hang on, I forgot to say this thing. I'd better throw it out. But yeah, definitely remember that like I said with Rishikesh, that structure to answering the weakness question. What is the weakness? Then you kind of talk a little bit about it. You show that you're aware of it, and then you say how you're working on solving it. It's kind of like that three-step process, so to speak. The only other thing I could say from my end, and I know I'm talking at you a lot now, so I hope you'll forgive me. But the only other thing I'd say from my end is that when you say blue collar work, what does that actually mean? Because I know what blue collar is, but like what was the actual job? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, do you want me to explain it right now? Is that what you're saying?
But I mean, I think you should in the interview as well. That's what I'm saying. So it's almost a bit vague in a way if you just say blue collar.
Yeah, I honestly didn't know what it meant until I started working in industry, right? So I believe they call it blue collar because most of the time in these shops, industrial shops, they wear uniforms. Not so much nowadays. Nowadays, most of the time you can just wear your t-shirt and jeans. But you have to wear these uniforms, and they're almost always these blue shirts because they launder them. The blue, for some reason, is easier to launder. I don't know. So I think that's why they call it blue collar, And then white collar, they wear the white shirts with the white collars, and the suit. And so I think that's why it's called blue collar. It's mostly industrial jobs, like a paper mill, a recycle plant, where people go in and work in the factory. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm aware of that. What I mean is that, like, for you specifically, like when you just say blue collar, it doesn't actually give a lot of information to the person listening. Like, it says that they were that kind of job, but it doesn't say what exactly you did in those jobs. Do you know what I mean? So I think it would be good. I don't mind it in your intro, because in your intro, as I've said before in other videos, you don't have to go into too much detail in your intro. Like, that's for the overall picture, right? So there, I think it's fine to just say blue collar or blue collar work or whatever. But then I think later on, when you're talking about, for example, more detail about drawing those connections or how you came into tech, for example, like you said, you were working these shifts at a factory, and so we kind of got a little bit there, but you didn't say like what you did at the factory or anything like that. And I feel like especially as a woman in tech, that there is a strong advantage to showing that you are, or you have been in those kinds of male heavy environments, and that you're already kind of, you can never say that. This is the thing. Yeah, yes. Exactly. You can never say it. Like, you can't say in an interview, yeah, I'm used to being the only woman in a room, it's fine. Like, you can't really say it.
Right. But yeah, it's hard to cover that side of it. Yeah.
So I mean, you can't really say it, but you can show it, right? Kind of like do the secret dog whistle messaging, where you say like, yeah, I've worked in like industrial environments before, or I've worked a lot with machinery, anything like that. Kind of, it has this technical, hard feeling that a lot of, especially crap recruiters, to be honest, a lot of crap recruiters see tech as being only about machinery, so to speak. So if you can kind of drop those kind of hard industrial words in there, I feel like it will somehow help. So I feel like don't be like afraid to talk more about what those jobs actually were, because even if they don't seem ostensibly connected to tech, they still kind of give hints to the recruiter that you would be the kind of person who could hack it, for lack of a better. There's actually quite a good pun that I just made accidentally. Uh, but yeah, so that's my little rant. Was there anything in there that resonates with you more or less, or you feel is way off base? Maybe also.
No, no, no. I think you're right. Because I was losing track of myself. I definitely was because I get excited.
I
I
know.
do. I don't know why. Like talking to people in public, I just kind of like I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Talking to people sometimes I just get so excited. I lose track. I definitely got to keep track. I don't know if I need to practice more or because I don't. I should like stand like you said in the last one. You know, you should stand in front of a mirror and practice.
Yeah. Yeah. It sucks. It sucks, but yes, that's exactly right.
I
Yeah, I mean, I think it is about practice. To be quite honest, I think it's also to do with the times that we're living in right now because we're seeing so few people relative to what we're used to in the past. When we see someone new, we're like, oh, hi, you're a new person. Hi, who are you? What's going on? And we get so, I mean, I'm a bit the same way. I think I see a lot of similarities in our personalities. And I definitely understand where you're coming from. And honestly, of all the traits you could have with public speaking and with interviews, that is like of all the faults, I suppose I'd say that you could have with interviews, that is one of the better ones to have. Like a much worse one is when you go inside yourself and you are second guessing everything you say, and so much so that nothing comes out. It is. I mean, I'm a bit of a word vomiter, as you can tell, but I still think that that's usually better in job interviews than the opposite, as long as you're keeping things positive.
right.
And that's what I would say. Speaking of keeping things positive, there was one other thing that I wrote down, which was at one point you said, if I ever get into tech, you said, or when I get into tech, or I should say, if I ever get into tech, do not like banned. Those phrases are banned. You cannot you cannot give any hint that you are desperate because people, the moment they sense desperation, I don't know what it is. It's like with dating. It's the same thing, right? Like the moment someone seems like they're way too into you, you're just like, you know what? I don't like you as much anymore, and I can't tell you why. Like it's the same thing. The moment you let onto a recruiter that you really, really want this job, they'll be like, I don't know, there's just something off about them. It's so unfair. It is the most unfair thing. But it's true. So I would say just like ban all of those phrases. You say, oh yeah, when I'm deciding, you can even flip it. You kind of say something like, oh, when I'm deciding on my first job, or when I'm selecting my first job, I want, like in tech, I want to make sure that X, Y, Z, or it's important to me that my first job has, and then you list something they have, right? So like you look on their job description and they're like, oh, teamwork is really important to us because we're such a small company, right? So then you say, oh, I've worked with small companies before. I really liked the family vibe we had there. I don't mind working for big companies, but what I like about small companies is X, Y, Z. And it's really important to me that the first job I choose to work in has a good feeling of community and teamwork and team spirit or something like that, right? So you're not lying. You're still saying, yeah, I can work in either environment, but you're just kind of highlighting what you like about how they are. And then you make it sound like if you were to choose somewhere, what you would choose would just happen to be what they're offering. What a coincidence.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense. I'll have to practice that.
Yeah. You don't have to do the hands, but I can't guarantee the hands will help. It'll probably make things worse. But yeah, all right. Well, if there's nothing else, did you have any questions for me? I suppose I should ask. Is there anything that you feel is unclear for you?
No, I think that it's very similar. I did a mock interview with another friend,
Oh,
and
cool.
I think it's very similar. The because I've been a manager in a restaurant and
Mm,
I've had to interview people, and it's very similar. But
yeah.
gosh, it's hard. I so I don't think I have questions per se. I just think
Great.
it was actually really fun, and I wish more people would volunteer to do this because it really it makes it less intimidating.
Yeah, and that's the idea, and that's part of why I chose to do it on YouTube as well, because I figured, I mean, like, for one thing, it benefits me, obviously. Having videos on YouTube is good for me, and it helps me to do it live because then I don't have to edit things and it's nice. But, like, when I thought about it, I thought, I think it'll be better for the interviewees as well because it adds nerves. And, like, just chatting to me is not necessarily something that's going to make people all that nervous. But having the added kind of pressure of knowing that it's going online for anyone to see can add those nerves for people, and that's I think really important because that's when the real interview comes out because that's how we feel, right, when we get nervous when we talk to recruiters or whatever. So that's when we see, yeah, it's like you getting excited, you know, you got the adrenaline rush, and yeah, it's nice though. I think you're doing all the right things, and you just, yeah, I mean, everything I said was very minute in the grand scheme of things. I think just keep going.
All right.
As
Cool.
frustrating as that is to hear.
It
But
is. It is
yeah.
a little bit frustrating. But I really appreciate this opportunity because like I said, I haven't even been able to get an interview yet. So this means a lot to me. This means a
Oh.
ton to me. And just thank you so much.
Well, if anything positive comes out of this at all, be it personally for you, or if anyone sees this and is interested in Nellie, then I will be very, very happy because I think you seem like a really good person and someone who really loves what you're working on. And I just think, I just wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, I'll see you on Twitter.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
All right. So I hope that you guys enjoyed that. We did not have very many live viewers. That is okay. But hopefully you're watching this after the fact and you found it useful. Don't forget to watch the other two videos where I do describe some of the steps in a bit more detail. One was with Faye Sipiano and the other one was with Rishikesh Kumar, I think was his surname. And they are both very good as well and have a lot of information in there about how to craft your story and how to draw connections for recruiters. So with that said, I hope you found this useful. Feel free to leave any comments and follow me on Twitter, like, subscribe, all that jazz, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you so much.